Now I know what you're thinking. What the heck do I need a 5 spindle for when I barely sell enough milkshakes to justify my single spindle, right? Wrong. Mr. Griffith, are you familiar with the notion of chicken and the egg? I say it here because I think it applies here. Are you not selling enough milkshakes and that's why you don't need the multi-mixer? Or you don't have the multi-mixer and that's why you're not selling enough milkshakes? I firmly believe it's the latter. You see, if your customer buys one of your milkshakes out from establishment, well, they know they're in for a terrific wait. And they think to themselves, by golly, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. But let's say you have a Prince Castle 5 spindle, direct drive, patented motor. Not only did it increase your ability to produce frosty, delicious milkshakes fast, but mark my words, dollars to donuts. You can sell more of those sons of bitches that you can shake a stick at. You increase the supply, and the demand will follow. Supply, demand, chicken, the egg. Do you follow my logic? I know you do, because you're a bright, forward-thinking guy who knows a good idea when he hears one. So what I say? You may think to yourself that exploration happened 30 years ago. Too late ago. I personally, I was always been someone who's fascinated by stories. I've always loved stories. And so I was doing all of these comic books and I would write them, do them, draw them, color them, finish. Look within yourself from childhood. Meditate if you have to. If you can't remember what it is that you absolutely loved back then there's going to be a whole lot of thinking time for you to do. So what the heck was that, right? So that's actually a dialogue from the film The Founder, 2016 film John Lee Hancock starring Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, who's the Batman, the Birdman, what have you, Academy Award winner, everything about that. And as you have guessed it, we're going to talk about The Founder. Now, why are we going to talk about The Founder? The Founder is actually a film that I would like to recommend to all of you guys. It has taught me a lot of things when it comes to life and business. And so if you haven't watched the film, this is gonna be a spoiler heavy video and content about that. So if you want to watch film first, then I suggest that you stop watching right now. But if you're someone who's intrigued, curious, or you want more context to be able to convince you to watch this film, then stick around. Okay, so this is going to be a 4-part special on my little video essay of The Founder. So we have to talk about what The Founder is first, okay? So The Founder is a film about this protagonist that is a salesman, a traveling salesman who found in the late years of his life success. Okay, and I've actually made a review about this film a little while back, 3-4 months ago, and I'm going to read it to you guys. A traveling salesman near the age of retirement harvested the fruits of persistence to his coveted legacy, consequences of plateauing and contentment. Unlike others, his vision is what propelled him. Life lessons to learn from, the tragedy behind the success. So, for those of you who doesn't know what the film The Founder is, a 2016 film, let's try and walk towards that bit by bit, okay? So, this film actually has a whole lot of bad receptions if you try and look at how the people perceive it, if you try and read the reviews, the movie reviews about this. And that's because the protagonist of this film, they find it that his ways is very malevolent, very cunning, the typical cunning salesman who will say anything to get anything. A lot of the people find it an abomination to be able to like this character, and it really is a bad experience and not someone who you would necessarily make a role model. But there are some goods to it, right? There are some good parts to it, and I believe that you just have to eliminate the bad stuff and then absorb every good, and then you're good to go. You get to have your cake and eat it too, okay? So we have to talk about, and this infamous character, his name is Ray Kroc. Okay, does that ring a bell? Ray Kroc? Well, if not, who is Ray Kroc? Okay, who is Ray Kroc? Carl, is he the inventor of Crocs? Founder of Crocs? No. Ray Kroc is the founder of the Golden Arches Corporation. What's the Golden Arch Corporation? What? It's McDonald's car. Yeah, that's right. It's McDonald's. So Ray Kroc, 52-year-old traveling salesman, going door to door with that same pitch that I just gave to you guys. and rejections after rejections, all of these things. And we're going to talk about that in part 2, and how he persists to be able to be the man that he became, even though he's in late years of his life. He didn't give up, right? He has a good wife, good house, good family, good community, and still he needed more. There's something more. There's a burning desire for him to succeed, and that's what propelled him. Okay, so we have to look at the vista of where the McDonald's is back at that time. This was late 1950s, late 1960s, before Ray Kroc. Okay, we're talking about before Ray Kroc came and absolutely disrupt the whole market. So here's what happened. There's this brothers who came to California, Hollywood, California, to be able to move and learn about the movie business and actually work in the movie business. But it didn't turn out well, right? Nobody was making money, and they got a job as driving trucks. So they looked around, and the only guy who's making money at that time was this guy who owns a hot dog stand. And so they thought to themselves, well, people got to eat still, and they actually said it into the film. The people still gotta eat, and so they created a restaurant, but not the kind of McDonald's that we get to know of it is today. They have a 29 menu item, and it's called McDonald's Famous Barbecue. But they realized one day that most of their sales comes from 3 items only, right? And we're going to talk about that in a deep quite later. So just put in that mind, of the 29 menu items, there's only 3 items that sells, and that is hamburgers, French fries, and Coca-Cola. Exactly 87% of all of their revenues, all of their sales come from those 3. So decided to, okay, we're not selling all of these salads, of these barbecues. Let's just focus where we're good at. Let's just focus where our strengths are and improve upon them. So they created the 3 menu special. That is what they did. And when you look at the market back then, what's the trend and what's really in is the drive-in diner or the drive-in restaurants. You get to have your order, wait at least 45 minutes to get your order, and as Ray Kroc would say, the moment that you do get your food, it's probably wrong. You get the wrong order. So the service is bad, terrible. So they find a way to be able to revolutionize really the whole fast food system. I think they are one of the first, if not the first, fast food system or fast food restaurant in the United States at that time. So they revolutionized the SPEEDEE system, and that is actually the title of this video in this part 1, the SPEEDEE system, efficiency, and how they created and orchestrated a system that can help sustain a fast food. Back then, the term fast food didn't exist. They created it, right? They're the first to be able to do it. Wait time back then, 45 minutes, forget that. 15 seconds, that's right, 15 seconds of wait time. And absolutely mind-boggling. The first time that Ray Kroc actually ordered a meal from McDonald's, he was, he was flabbergasted. He didn't know what to think, because he just ordered, after 15 seconds, here's your burger, here's your fries, here's your Coca-Cola. And he couldn't believe it. Absolutely blew his mind, right? So in terms of innovation, really innovated, right? In terms of innovation, really innovated. There were tasty burgers. They're not just fast burgers that you get. They're really tasty. They experimented on the cook time, experimented on a whole lot of machineries to be able to fast the system up. And they actually showed this into the film and how they created that system. What they would do before they realized that is that they have to create a system wherein there is no waste of movement, effort, and or any kind of motion. No waste of motion. Okay, so what they did was they went to a tennis court, a local tennis court, and this is what they did. They drew up the exact dimensions, the same layout of their kitchen, right? And they would start from scratch every time it doesn't meet their expectation. And they have a stopwatch, and they would time it. And all of the other employees would reenact whatever it is that they are there for. They could be the fryer, the cook, the burger guy, doesn't matter, right? All of them has a role to be able to help and sustain that synergy. and they orchestrated that. They timed it. They absolutely got the dimensions right. But speed is just one part of the equation. They realized also that the plates are missing, broken, the utensils, it's the same thing. So they decided to use disposable things, and that's why when you go to McDonald's, you get what, the plastic basket with a disposable paper kind of thingy. So that's where it came from, right? Because they realized that there's a lot of plates that gets broken and gets missing, so remove it altogether. So that's what they did. Another thing is the huge amount of payroll that they had back then, and they actually mentioned this in the film. Because of the bad system that they had, an inefficient system that they had back then, they had to hire a whole lot of employees to do less work, right? I mean, to do more work, right? More employees and more work. But by creating a system, what they've done is that they get to hire a whole lot less of employees with a whole lot less work and a whole lot of less time in terms of creating the product. And it's absolutely amazing if you think about it. You think of right now we take McDonald's for granted, the fast food industry for granted. And when we look at restaurants right now, a good key factor of it is time. When we go to a restaurant, sometimes ang tagal naman, 45 minutes nang lumipas, right? Ang tagal, mag-isang oras na, gutom na, di ba? Pero right now, that's a kind of a given. That's the kind of thing that we expect in today's society. But during at those time, 45 minutes is the normal waiting time. 30 minutes normal waiting time. So when you get to have something like McDonald's, who gives your food in 15 seconds, how many times as fast that is? Amazing, right? Phenomenal. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, so they realized service is bad, utensils bad, large payroll, 87% of their employees, 87% of their sales come from only 3 things, and they focused on that. And so that's what the Pareto principle. Same goes for why I created this into something that isn't live. The first time that I get to do business talks with Carl is at IG Live, and I realized that majority of you guys watches me from the replays, not the live itself. So I find it okay, you guys aren't watching in the live. Okay, I'm gonna make something that isn't live, but at the same time let me contribute and dab a little bit of something to there to make it special. And that's why this whole editing comes around, right? To be able to give and provide a little bit more value than before. So I guess that's the whole part 1 of Business Talks with Carl, special about the founder. So if you want to watch part 2, don't forget to stick around and we'll upload it soon.